All right, we are recording. So here we go. So this is our Fortune Weavers webinar on driving for dollars. And this is, again, one of my favorite things to do because it's something you can do all the time. So when you're going on an errand or you're driving over to someone's house, you just take an extra couple of streets, you find some properties that look run down, and you take some notes. So we're going to go through this. Again, if one of the ones that one of my favorite stories is actually Glory White. Glory White was a driving for dollars, and that's in Lakewood. Saw the house was run down, sent a mailer, got a call 3 days later, and that turned into a great deal. I think we made like $75,000 on. So great deal. So driving for dollars is simply the process of driving targeted areas. And we're trying to locate distressed or abandoned properties in those areas, and they're almost in every neighborhood. If you drive down any street, usually there's one property that just isn't up to par. The neighbors don't like it. You know, those people happen to be the people who just aren't taking care of their property, and it could be for many reasons. It could be, you know, they don't have good health, they don't have a lot of money, maybe they're just hoarders, you know, it just different people come in different sizes and shapes. And so our job is to note that and then try to find out why they're not taking care of their property. All right, so something really important is you really want to kind of, if you're going to actually go on route and know what you're doing, you really should kind of define an area you're going to go do that with. I always suggest with students, always go on your farm, right? Your farm is basically the area you've chosen to market to with Fortune Weavers. And that is probably one of the best areas to drive. You know, it's generally 2 square miles. You're always looking. Now, you're going to run out of properties in that farm pretty quickly when it comes to driving for dollars. But you should start there and get used to what the process is as far as getting the information, marketing to them, and then you start driving for dollars all over the place. But before you step foot in the car, you should kind of have an idea. And we love Property Radar. It's one of our favorite tools. We encourage students to split the cost so it doesn't cost so much money. The minimum one is $40. So if 2 to 3 students, you know, share that, you know, they're generally paying anywhere from, you know, $13 to $20 a piece. You know, and that's the best way to do it because you're really going to be on it at the same time anyway. And I've never even gotten a message from them when I've had someone using mine. You know, generally it just says it won't allow you on. But Property Radar is one of my favorite softwares for driving for dollars because you can actually put it on your iPad and do a hotspot on your phone, and your iPad's a nice large screen. And as you're driving, it will actually go, it keeps up to the area based on the cell phone towers. And you can tap on properties and you can get an idea of what's going on with that, whether they're underwater, if it's a rental property or anything like that. So you get the information, what the loan value is, and that's done through Property Radar. Again, one of my favorite tools for driving for dollars. So at a minimum, you're going to need a smartphone in this business, in my opinion. And you need, or a printout worksheet so you can jot down notes. Notepad is always good. And this is before you go out. You're going to have your tools of the trade. Obviously, you need a pen or a pencil. Don't forget that. And what I like to do is have a printout like this, you know, where I actually do it all through Property Radar. But some people, if you don't have Property Radar, you just have to have either, you know, a notepad, a camera, something like that, to where you can go out, write down addresses, take down some notes on that property, and take some pictures so you can remember what it looks like, and or use that picture on the marketing piece you send. All right, so this comes from Property Radar. And so there's 2 tools that we use in this business. Again, you already heard me talk about Property Radar. The thing I love about it, it gives you loan value. Right? If you look down at the bottom of the screen, it has loan balance, $274,000, with an estimated value of $900,000. That's based on comps on a formula that's already set for us. And then that property has $627,000 in equity, if you look down here. Okay? See if I can highlight that. Oh, geez, didn't let me highlight it. Anyway, so the other tools that we have that are really good is the free tools we get through Fidelity National Title with our guys, Kyle and Anderson and David Glansrock. They've equipped us with these tools where it's all, for free, just a great tool to get information on properties. Now, the only thing that you're not going to get with Title Force is the loan balance, but everything else pretty much comes with that. It's not going to give you estimated value either. So those two things are left out, but it's going to give you all the owner's information, when they bought the property, square footage, if they're in pre-foreclosure, it'll give you all that information. Now, for free, it's not bad. The only thing I have an issue, and they have a door knocking app that will actually, go with you as well as you walk through a neighborhood, which is pretty nice as well. So those two tools, Property Radar and Title Force, are both the tools you'll need for doing what we're doing here. And if you're interested in finding more out about Title Force, go ahead and text me and I'll forward you the information of our title reps, and they'll actually meet with you, create a farm, and give you an added way to maybe farm and make some money this year. Driving for dollars, red flags. They're pretty common. If you see the paper attached to the window or the door, that's usually a public notice. Generally, you'll see that with code enforcement and or foreclosure. And the notice will be on the door. This is a sign that someone's in trouble. The neighbors might have called on them that they have an illegal garage, or, something's going on there. People are, dealing drugs. Usually it's a sign that there's something not right at that house. And so if you see a sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 most of the time, on the windows or the door, you're going to want to take note of that and see what you can find out. And that might not be something that's coming up on any of our lists or anything like that. So it's something you can get by driving for dollars. Overgrown grass. We see it a lot still because of the water restrictions. So I've seen it a lot more over the last year or two because of the drought. But if you see overgrown shrubs, grass, if you see grass that's 1.5 feet tall in the front yard, that's an indicator that there's something wrong. Why aren't they keeping it mowed? That's something I would definitely look at. Piled up newspaper or mail. Generally, I'm going to want to talk to that homeowner and talk to the neighbors, make sure that they're okay. My initial response when I see that is they're either on vacation or someone's sick or dead in the house. Because why would they let their newspaper pile up like that? And then boarded up windows. We saw a lot of this throughout the crash. You could actually go down streets and see, on a normal street, you'd see 5 to 10 houses that were boarded up. It was that bad, depending on the area. I'm speaking to LA, but you see that, you'll still see it where there's an abandoned house. It'll be boarded up because people are breaking in. The city cracks down on the homeowner. No rhyme or reason why they're not doing something about it, but usually it's because they don't have the money, or they're just sitting on it, and waiting for at some point where the value's gone up and the family decides to sell it. You'll see a lot of those in trusts where, the house is free and clear. They just have to pay a minimum property tax. No big deal. They're just waiting for the value to go up. So, a lot of people come to me and they're like, man, why aren't they selling their house? It's a mess. Well, they're just sitting on it. It doesn't cost them much money, and the values just keep going up. All right, so those are kind of the 4 things. Here's another one. And these are just indicators we see. We see the wood shake roof there. A wood shake roof is an issue. You see tarps on roofs. That's a problem as well. And we saw a lot of that with the heavy rains we got this year. I'm driving around neighborhoods. I'm seeing a lot of people replacing their roofs. All right. And so tarps on roofs, wood garage doors is an indicator. Aluminum windows. This house that you see on the screen that has aluminum windows, and you see there's issues with the paint. If you look on the second story there, below the windows, you can see there's actually something going on with the paint. So this has a lot of different things, kind of overgrown. The other indicator that we always look at is the asphalt driveway. If you see an asphalt driveway, it's usually a rental property because it's not that expensive to replace a driveway. You're talking, $2 to $3 grand. Most people get that when they own a property in their tax return. So when I see asphalt driveways, I kind of go, that's one of the first red flags I look at. Then I look at the garage door. If it's not a metal garage door, Again, usually a rental property. That's why we use Property Radar or Title Force to kind of figure that out. Aluminum or wood windows. Why didn't they replace their windows? You know, it's not energy efficient unless they've done that. And again, obviously, if you see missing shingles or large patches on the roof, you want to take that down. You know, the nicest thing about this house right here actually is the numbers, the address numbers 3914 on the side of the street. It's about the nicest thing on this house. All right, moving forward. So you see these properties, what do you do next? Well, you need to make sure you take notes, right? So if I go by and I see a house like this, boarded up, paint is peeling. Remember, paint peeling is a code enforcement issue. If a house is like this, you call code enforcement, it cannot have peeling paint. The city will crack right down on that. This one has a little graffiti. You can see the pillar on the right side of the house is cracked, and that is a hazard. And if this property is in our area and we call code enforcement, they'll actually slap a fence around that property and charge the homeowner up to $18,000. They'll lien the property. I've actually bought a property and got there the day they were putting the fence around my property on San Pedro Street in LA, and it cost me $8,000 even though I caught them midway. So I know what it costs. If something like this is unsafe, the city will crack down on these people. So, you know, we need to get a hold of them and let them know, hey, this is what's going to happen next, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. What's going on with the house? All right, so here's one. This was something where this is a house where Property Radar does this, and this is why I want to show you this. So when you have Property Radar, you can take a picture through the app on your phone, take notes, and it'll actually save that contact for you to contact later. It goes into your list automatically. Homeowner of a multi-unit wants to refinance to fix the back. The tenant in the front wants to buy a house in March, but she's a Spanish-only speaking, right? So it's just notes that you can take. That's why I like Property Radar so much. So when you get home from driving for dollars, and I would drive for dollars once or twice a week. When you get home from finding these properties, it's when you want to go and do the research. You know, if you don't have MLS access, which, you know, I would love everybody to have, but it costs money, use Zillow, Redfin, you know, use the tools that you have. If you have Property Radar, you can actually use that. Title Force, again, these are all tools for you to do research on. And you want to filter out properties that don't fit your criteria. For example, if you're doing research on those properties and you see, you know, they're underwater, you know, maybe we can approach those with maybe the 203K loan, you know, where it can help them fix up the property. Another thing I'm working on is looking at city grants that are available to help these people out. You know, there's one that one of the students brought to my attention that I didn't know about. That's money that the government has out there to help people fix up their property. And again, you know, maybe we don't make much money on it, but they'll refer us to other people, and we're doing what's right for them. So, you know, you just want to filter out those that you're not interested in. So once you've selected all the properties that fit your criteria, you want to create that final list. And this is what you're going to use for your marketing, all right? And you want to make sure, if you see that bottom sentence, that the owner is not a bank, all right? Because they'll just throw it out. It's not, you can't, the bank's not going to deal with people personally when it comes to real estate. All right, so this is from Property Radar, and the reason why I show you this is I want to show you how we track this property. So this is a property in Long Beach on Hardwick, and if you look in the circle, the estimated value is, you know, a little over $400,000. But look at the loan balance, $32,000. There's a ton of equity in this house, all right, and this is something that I would want to go after. And then look, the house, obviously, because it's on my list because it's falling apart. And then you look at the owner. The owner is a trust, but it's in their name, so it's not hard to track them down. Okay, they bought the property for $154,000 in the 80s, and they live in Torrance. So now I know where I can send my marketing piece to, and it's my job to research every way I can to get a hold of this person. All right, because if I mail to them and they don't respond, then I need to go out of my comfort zone and possibly call or knock on the door. So let's go over a little bit about the marketing aspect of this. So once you finalize your list, okay, you want to decide what kind of letter you want to send. Okay, And make sure, this is a mistake I've seen people make in the past, make sure you use the owner's address if it's an absentee owner. Do not use, don't mail the letter to the rental property if there's a tenant that, you know, they're not going to do anything with it. Chances are they're not going to want to move, and they're going to want to throw away your marketing piece. For those of you that haven't seen this, this is something I like to reiterate often, is the study that was done that studied direct marketing responses. And it just goes to show, if you look at this, that after the first contact, you have a 98% failure rate. Only 2% of people will contact you on a first-time mailing. You know, the one I was talking about in Lakewood, that's lucky. That rarely happens. I just happen to catch those people at the right time. And if you look, after the second one, 4%, third, 6%, fourth, 10%, and then the fifth contact, all of a sudden the magic happens where if that person needs you, they feel comfortable enough to call you. And so that's kind of the way this thing works. So you know you have to spend nearly $5 on that lead in mailing before, if and when they need you, before they'll call you. All right, and that's why we try to create we have this creative marketing piece is to try to get their attention, showing them that we have these other strategies versus, you know, if you just mail them a letter that says, hey, we want to buy your house all cash, you know, there's only so many people in the world that will respond to something like that. You know, too many people are watching the flipping shows and looking how much money people are making, and, you know, they just wouldn't deal with an investor. So we want to get creative on how we do things. At the bottom there, I want to emphasize again, the study went on to say that 90% of the people gave up after the third contact, meaning they sent a letter or a mailing piece only 3 times. And if you look at that statistic, that still means they have a 94% failure rate. So why would you only do 3 mailings? That doesn't make sense. So you'd want to go, in my opinion, throughout the whole year, mailing to these people. Okay, if a property's vacant, let me give you some ideas here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to tape a note like this to the door. You know, I get these at Sam's Club. I'm sure they have them at Staples as well, Office Depot, places like that. I've been to the dollar store, and they actually have their own kind of brand, and it doesn't have the adhesive on the back, but you can tape it, no big deal, if you want to just kind of stay on the cheap side. But, you know, at Sam's Club, you get a big pack of these. I think they're like $10, and you have more, they'll last you an entire year. So, but I like to leave a note like this, kind of says who I am, you know, asking them if they're interested in selling their house. Give them an email and give them a phone number. Give them a way to reach out to you. Okay, you don't necessarily need to say you're an investor. Just say, hey, I'm looking at buying a house in this neighborhood. You don't even have to say you're going to close in 14 days. You can just say, hey, I'm interested in buying a house in this neighborhood. Please call me if you're interested. And then next step, go to each neighbor right and left across the street. See if you can get any information. Most neighbors don't like the fact that a house is falling apart or boarded up in their neighborhood. And I always lead in by saying that, hey, you know, the fact that house is kind of run down, is that bugging you at all? Because it's kind of hurting your values. I'm looking to buy a house in this neighborhood. You know, do you happen to have the homeowner's phone number? And I know some of you have been on Door Knocking Blitzes. You've actually seen this in action where the neighbor will have the phone number and get us on the phone with that person. All right. So anyway, this is what I do. And then if worse comes to worse, you stick a sign in the yard that says, you know, for sale by owner or something like that with your phone number. You put a sign in the yard with something like that, or you put a bandit sign in the front yard, you know, the owner's going to call you because they're going to be pretty frustrated. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with them being frustrated. You say, hey, I did that on purpose because I was trying to find you and I couldn't. And you're just the person I want to talk to. And so, you know, it's not like they're going to bust you for trespassing. I mean, it'd be ridiculous. I think the cops would laugh at something like that. Mm-hmm. All right. The first letter that I always suggest that we send is the white letter. All right. And this is kind of how it looks. It has 4 options. It has the cash offer, take the money and run. You see that in bold. Fortune price lift, which is about them making the most money. That's why you see dollar signs. We can list their property at a discount, or they can learn how to become an investor. We've had people call off these letters, you know, asking about joining the company. If you look at the bottom, there's an area for your code, and you put your code on that so we know how to identify who you are. The phone number they call has a pre-recorded message that walks through what we can offer, and that's where I would start. And on this one, it looks, you put the picture of the house on the letter. That's what we did on that Lakewood property, and that worked great. Yellow letters, some of you have seen this, just look like this. This is something you can choose to do if you just want to do it real quick. Make sure you send it to the right address. Simple way, just simple message. I like the one on the left better than I do the one on the right, to be honest with you. If I'm going to do the one on the right, me personally, I'm going to do a white letter. So once you have the homeowner's name through Title Force or your research, first step, Google their name. You'd be surprised how many times their phone number just pops up on just a normal Google search, or their Facebook and all that type of stuff. So this is kind of the order of process.
Hello? Oh, okay. Sorry. I mute my phone.
Okay. So basically what we're trying to do is we want to find them on Facebook, LinkedIn, peoplefinders.com, PIPL.com, White Pages, Zaba Search, 10digits.us, and if you want to pay money, Spokeo. Do all the things you can, okay, to find their phone number. A lot of times on the web we can find a landline for sure, but really today we need to find their cell phone number. Okay, so the way I would like to attack is mail, call, door knock. Mail, call, door knock. MCD. All right, you send a letter, you call, because once they've received the letter, then there's some recognition there. Call them. Generally when we call, that's a tough thing to do. They usually get a little weird on us, but I know some of the students, we just did this and it worked very well, just making a cold call. All right, so let me walk you through the process here. So this is a Google search on, Benalda Jones, and you can kind of see it pops up with kind of where she lives. There's Natalie Jones, which is probably a relative. Benalda Jones on Facebook. Sometimes that's tough because there's more than one person that has that name, but this is pretty unique. You can kind of go down. Maybe there's a relative, Harry, there. All right. So that's the Google search. And then you go to People Finders, and I'm looking for a phone number. Now I know they live in Torrance. I know Natalie's a relative. So I'm actually, taking this into consideration. I'm starting to write notes. I know Benalda's 64 years old. She's at retirement. She might be thinking about cashing out her house so that she can enjoy those retirement years, and that's probably what I'm going to talk to her about. Okay, this is the PIPLE. I'm still looking for a phone number, and I'm not finding it. The sponsored links don't generally give you phone numbers because they want you to pay them. All right, going through the process here. White Pages. Okay, I got her address. They're going to want me to pay money for phone numbers. White Pages has kind of gotten to the point where they make you pay these days. Zaba is one of my favorite, okay, and it came up with 0 results. So this is tough. So I've kind of gone through the progression of what I would do to find the phone number, and so far I haven't gotten it. And so the next steps for us would be Cole Realty Resource. And if you look down there, look at that. Cole is a tool that we pay for at kind of the home office here. And it came up with her cell phone number and an email address. So you can see right there, that would be the steps I would take to get this person's information. And then if I couldn't get it through Cole, we have the ability to get it through another process, which is kind of doing a skip trace, and you can kind of see what pops up here. And look at that. Not only do I have one phone number, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phone numbers. Very rarely is there not an email that pops up when we do this. It shows here that she's 65. I've linked out all the social security numbers. And there's Richard. There's Natalie right there. I can click on her name and it gives me her phone number. Harry might have been a husband. He's passed. Could be a father. If she's 65 and he's 107, I guarantee he's probably the dad, right? No bankruptcies. I'm looking for the bankruptcies to see if they're in trouble. Do they have judgments, liens, any of those types of things as an indicator that there's problems? None here. So that's not going to help me much. So if these phone numbers, now if we go back, 5485 was the phone number, the same cell phone number that showed up on Cole. So we know that that's her cell phone number. All right. And anyway, so we know that we can actually get a hold of this woman and make contact. So we're going to send the mailer. We're going to make the phone call, which is uncomfortable. Like I said, if you don't want to do it, we can do it together type of a thing in the beginning. And then the great thing that we can do for, a few dollars more, we can get all the relatives' phone numbers. So best numbers to reach, best first-degree relatives' phone numbers. There's Natalie. Remember, she popped up a bunch. There's another Natalie. And then we have second-degree relatives. These are other people that are going to know, okay, Benalda Jones, 91, 69, right in their age group, okay? And we can actually take this a step further. We can get all the neighbors' phone numbers, all right? So if we need to find someone, generally we can. All right, one of my favorite tools that I want to share with you guys is something called Spy Dialer. And Spy Dialer, we can put Benalda Jones's phone number that we got, the number that we saw in Cole or through the skip trace, and it will dial that number. And a lot of times you'll get the voicemail and it'll say that person's name and you know you're golden. So you got the right number. So Spy Dialer is free, gives you 4 or 5 calls a day for free, something like that. I pay like $10 for so many searches just to have it because I use it quite often. And so it just gives me, and it'll do a name search. It'll do a social media search for you. It's just a great tool that's free based on phone numbers. It'll do landline and it'll do cell phones. So great tool for you guys. Spydialer.com. But the best and fastest way, door knock it. And I know for most of you out there listening, that might not be something you're comfortable with, but I believe that in this particular market, and I know this market's going to change, but in this particular market, door knocking is the fastest way to get a hold of somebody. So we know that her address is in Torrance. We go there, maybe we bring a little gift just to, be creative or whatever, and say, hey, I noticed you have this house over in Long Beach. Matter of fact, here's a picture of it. It's not being taken care of. And, we're looking at buying a house in that neighborhood. Have you thought about selling? We can avoid all the commissions of the realtors and get you the most money possible. See if that's something they'd be interested in. And at that point, they may not be ready right now, but at least you've made the contact. You put them on a drip campaign and you stay in contact with them. And you'll be the first person to call if they're thinking about putting it on the market. So that's basically how we do driving for dollars. But the key to this is not the driving or finding the properties, which is important, but the key is actually the research and then making contact. My favorite way again, let me do this again, hold on, is the door knock. Okay, if I can get all of you to door knock, all right, we are gonna be golden. We're gonna have tons of deals because these houses are on every street. All right, find your farm, or outline your farm and really start to do as much research on those houses that are falling apart in that particular farm. And remember, today you'll do what others won't, so tomorrow you can accomplish what others can't. All right, you got to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. And I'm here to help and support you. I'm your biggest fan, so just know that. And we want to celebrate your success. Oh, there's Lisa. I can see you putting your hands up. Awesome. All right, I'm going to move into questions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording real quick.